The t-test is a statistical test used to compare the means of two groups to determine if there is a significant difference between them. It's commonly applied when dealing with small sample sizes, typically less than 30, or when the population standard deviation is unknown. In educational management, the t-test is valuable for evaluating whether different interventions, groups, or conditions lead to statistically significant differences in outcomes. Types of t-tests. 1. One-sample t-test compares the mean of a single sample to a known or hypothesized population mean. Example: a teacher might use a one-sample t-test to compare the average test scores of a current class with the average scores from previous years. 2. Independent samples t-test, two-sample t-test, compares the means of two independent groups. Example: a school might compare math scores of students in a traditional classroom setting versus those in an online learning environment to see if there's a significant difference. 3. Paired samples t-test, dependent t-test, compares the means of two related groups, often before and after an intervention. Example: a school might use a paired samples t-test to measure the change in student test scores before and after implementing a new teaching strategy. When to use a t-test: when comparing the means of two groups or conditions, when the sample size is relatively small, when the data is approximately normally distributed, when the standard deviation of the population is unknown. Advantages of t-tests. Simplicity. The t-test is relatively straightforward and commonly used in research, making it accessible for researchers with basic statistical knowledge. Applicability. It's versatile, covering one sample, independent, and paired samples, allowing various types of comparisons. Reliable with small samples. The t-test is particularly effective when working with small sample sizes, which is common in educational research settings. Disadvantages of t-tests. Assumptions of normality. The t-test assumes that the data follows a normal distribution. If this assumption is violated, results may be less reliable. Sensitive to outliers. Extreme values or outliers can significantly impact the results, especially in small samples. Limited to two groups. The t-test only compares two groups. For comparing more than two, an ANOVA test is generally more appropriate. Application in educational management. In educational management research, t-tests can be instrumental in assessing interventions or strategies to improve student or teacher performance. For example, MEM students may use a t-test in their thesis research to compare the test scores of students taught using different methods. A paired t-test might be used to evaluate teacher performance before and after a professional development program. By applying t-tests, educational leaders can make data-driven decisions, helping them implement effective policies and practices in schools. Importance of t-test. The t-test is crucial in research because it enables researchers to determine if differences between groups are statistically significant rather than due to random chance. This is particularly important in fields like education, where it's often necessary to assess whether a specific teaching method, curriculum change, or educational intervention has a real effect on outcomes such as student performance, teacher satisfaction, or classroom engagement. Key reasons for the importance of t-tests. 1. Objective decision-making. The t-test provides a standardized method to evaluate whether observed differences in data are meaningful. For example, it helps educators and administrators determine if a new learning program genuinely improves student scores, or if the difference is negligible. 2. Evidence-based practice. By comparing groups or conditions, the t-test helps researchers and educational leaders make evidence-based decisions. This is essential in educational management where resources and time are invested in program changes, and it's important to choose approaches that are statistically proven to be effective. 3. Small sample efficiency. Many educational studies have limited sample sizes, especially in pilot programs or specialized classes. The t-test is particularly valuable in these situations because it can produce reliable insights from relatively small groups, unlike other tests that may require larger sample sizes. 4. Versatility across research scenarios. Whether comparing the means of two independent classes, independent samples t-test, or assessing the progress of the same group over time, paired samples t-test, the t-test's flexibility allows it to be applied in various educational contexts. 5. Foundation for further statistical analysis. The t-test is a foundational tool in statistics. Mastering it enables researchers to understand and apply more complex analyses, such as ANOVA or regression analysis, which are often necessary in comprehensive educational research. In summary, the t-test is essential because it supports critical, data-driven decisions in educational research and management. By determining the statistical significance of observed differences, the t-test helps ensure that changes in education are based on real evidence rather than assumptions or coincidence.